New questions about Summer Wells' disappearance. And a lot of those questions center around her grandmother.
Something's up here. That's what I would think. If there's anybody that knows what happened to that child, I think she would know.
So is Grandma telling the truth? Does she know more than what she's sharing?
As everybody knows, I have a missing daughter. She's been gone for 12 years. And all I could say is, oh God, not again.
That's not the right answer for that question. That's not the right answer, and that's not the right reaction to be giving for that.
The body language expert who investigated the case is back with some shocking observations. But first, do me a favor, hit the like, hit the subscribe, and share the episode. I'm Matt Johnson, and this is Justice. Here to help break it all down, we have a very special guest. We have Scott Rouse, world-renowned body language expert and behavior analyst. You have your own YouTube channel, and you're also part of the behavior panel. Fascinating. I'll have my links below. But I want to play you this interview with Candus Harer, and she is the grandmother to missing Summer Wells. And we're going to pause it along the way, but I wanted to get your take on what she has to say.
Candus and I got up that morning. She came out and took me into the ER because my leg was messing up on me. And we were afraid something was wrong with my knee. I have a knee replacement. And she was worried that there was something wrong with it. And she took me into the hospital. And I ended up getting a shot for it to get rid of the pain. And they prescribed me medication to take to get the swelling down out of my knee and around my knee because it was inflamed. And then we waited around for my prescription. Summer went swimming that day at the horse stables, I believe it was. And then we come back.
So I'm just going to pause it there because no one has been disputing the fact that she went to the doctor, that she was having a knee issue. I think that this is one of the first times I have listened to the fact that she went swimming earlier that day. But then we're going to get into the grocery section and when they get home. But does anything stick out for you on this part at all?
Yeah, too many details. You have no reason to give all those details. When you say what happened, you don't go through the minutia of that day. You don't go through all the tiny little things. For someone who's supposed to have experienced an emotional upheaval and emotional trauma from a missing child, grandchild, even the next door neighbor, you don't see that. That's not what you see. We don't see the facial expressions that show grief or sadness. We're just showing one. Her eyebrows are up. Sometimes she goes down where her glabella, that little group of muscles there, they'll come together a little bit, but not very much. So right out of the gate, for me, it's looking odd. This doesn't look right.
Now, in case you're new to the case or new to this channel, I want to give you more background. Summer Wells went missing 5 years ago. Here's a report about the interview with the grandmother published by WJHL. It was published 4 years ago, March 2nd, 2022.
On June 15th, the day Summer was reported missing, Harer says she spent the entire day with her daughter and granddaughter. She says it started with a trip to the emergency room to have her knee checked out.
They prescribed me medication to take to get the swelling down out of my knee and around my knee because it was inflamed. And then we waited around for my prescription. Summer went swimming that day at the horse stables, I believe it was.
After the family returned home with groceries, Harer says she took a nap, woke up, and repotted cactus plants with her granddaughter. She says Summer ate a peppermint, went inside the house to play with her brothers, and that was the last time she was seen.
Okay, so now we're going to get to the part where she's asked about getting home.
I went in my camper, and after we brought my groceries in for me, and the boys helped with that, and of course Summer, and I laid down and went to sleep, and I got up and I was sitting in my doorway, and we come out, and Candus asked me what I was doing. I said, well, we got to transplant these little cactuses into bigger pots. And
anything from that part right there? Because I've talked to Chris McDonough, who is a former detective who is also spoke to the family and been on the property. And he said that there is no plants there. There was no plants that needed repotting.
Yeah, no, the interesting thing about that is mom says she pops right up out of the car, goes into the house, and then grandma says, I got to plant flowers. Okay. Well, there are no flowers there, not one. Okay. It looks like concrete inside of those flower pots with all the, cactus and all this other stuff. Okay. This is not a garden where she's planting flowers with grandma. Okay. And the interesting thing about this is Candus projects and says, yeah, it's really fast. So it's almost like 2 to 5, maybe 10 minutes at its maximum that Summer just disappears. But in grandma's, one of the interviews she does with the local news station is her story is much different. Her story is, I went in after we got home, took a nap, came out. After that, that's when the flower story started. So there's a gap in their narrative. Grandma says she was in the trailer sleeping, okay? After getting home, right away, she went into the trailer sleeping, which makes sense because she went to the hospital to get some pain medication for a knee injury. That was the whole purpose of that morning. Okay? So my question was, did she pop one of those pain pills and it made her drowsy? And that would make sense that you're in the trailer having a nap, which fills in the time gap, makes it problematic. Candus makes it sound like they got home. She goes into the house. We come out, unload the groceries. Grandma says, hey, let's plant flowers. Okay. They plant flowers. She gets a piece of candy, goes in the house, disappears. Okay. It's almost like 5-10 minutes at its most. Okay. But grandma has herself inside the trailer sleeping. Okay. That's a real problem.
He questions that part of the timeline. Did anything stick out to you?
There's still no emotion. Still no emotion that should be there. I like Chris. He's great. But what was that? There was one thing can you rewind it a little bit? There's something there when she said something that got me.
Candus asked me what I was doing. I said, well, we got to transplant these little cactuses into bigger pots. And we did that. And then Summer come in and had a piece of peppermint, which is her favorite. And then she went in. She said, Mama, I want to go play with the boys. Candy walked her back to the house. And she asked the boys to keep an eye on her. And that's the last time I seen her.
We're still not seeing any of the emotions we should see on her face. We're not seeing any of it. This is not someone who experienced a trauma like that, in my opinion, because we don't see the remnants of that. We don't see what's left over from that. We don't see any sadness. We don't see any her being deep in thought about that. She's deep in thought about what she said before. She's tracking her earlier story, whatever that means for this situation. I've always been under the impression that if anybody had something to do with what happened to that child, she would have some more information than she's been given out.
All right, let me play a little bit more.
Tell me, when you first realized that Summer was missing, what was going through your mind and what was it like here?
To be blunt, it was hell. I mean,
that's not the question she asked her.
As everybody knows, I have a missing daughter. She's been gone for 12 years. And all I could say is, oh God, not again. And I couldn't do nothing but cry. And we yelled for her, and
She said all she could do was say, oh, not again.
Yeah, but that's not the question she asked her. She asked her what she thought about that, and she said it's hell. That's not the right answer for that question. That's not the right answer, and that's not the right reaction to be giving for that. I'm telling you, the emotions aren't there for this. Like when you sent me the link for this, I just got to watch it because we knew all this stuff before we got on here. Just briefly ran through it, and watching this again when it's bigger on my screen here, something's up here. That's what I would think. If there's anybody that knows what happened to that child, I think she would know. If something has happened to it besides somebody taking the child or something like that, I think she would be the one for information, because for some reason, and it could be you got to keep in mind, you got to take into context everything going on with this situation. There could be all kinds of things we're not aware of, but that's not the way a family member looks when a child goes missing. This is not the way they talk. I know because I've seen that a lot. And that's not what we're seeing. That's not what we're seeing here.
And this is someone that has a missing daughter of her own. So she has a missing daughter, and then she has a missing granddaughter. So that's what she's kind of talking about too. And you're right. You know, you would expect to see a little bit more.
We never did find her. She called 911 and she called Donnie, and we sent the boys down over the hill, and I stood in front of over by the edge there and watched them. And was praying to God every minute that nobody would take them.
Isn't that a weird thing to say? We were praying that no one would take the boys.
Yeah, because you're trying to see it in your mind somebody's taking that child. That's one of the things that bothers me as well from earlier. She's trying to put that picture in your mind of the possibility of that happening because it happened before, to make you think she actually believes that's what happened to it and tries to sell that story as to somebody's taking the child, which I believe she says here in just a bit, not long from now. But there's no emotion here. There's no true emotion here. This is a show. This is put on.
And this is not too long after little Summer went missing.
There was no sign of her.
Do you believe that someone took Summer, or do you believe that she wandered off? What do you believe happened?
I believe somebody took her. I know people say it doesn't happen, but it does happen. It happens in small towns. It happens in big towns. It happens in the country. And I believe somebody took her.
So she believes that someone took her, but she didn't answer the question if she had anything to do with it.
Yeah, she doesn't think somebody took that child. I don't think. To me, I'm sitting over here getting here's what happened. You never know exactly what happened in situations like this. There's no way to tell, but I can tell you we're not saying the things we should be seeing, and she's saying things she shouldn't be saying, not just to protect herself, but she doesn't know what not to say, if that makes sense. So she's putting a picture in her mind of somebody taking the child, because then there's a possibility of them taking other children. So she's got to stand up there and watch them. That's the children she has down the hill or whatever, because they're that brazen. And she knows that happens. And notice how many times we see shrugs with her. We actually see a single shoulder shrug when she's talking about that as well. So I would focus on her. You know, I've spoken to Candus in depth. You know, I talked to her a lot, a couple of times, and that's not I think she knows a little more than she's saying as well. But I think if something had happened, this is what I think, just suggestion, it might be those two together would know what happened to that child. That's what it looks like to me. They would know something. Is the grandmother still with us, quote unquote?
I believe so, but she doesn't do many interviews, and I've been told that she even moved from the area.
Okay. Yeah, that would make sense.
Let me play one other short clip of the grandmother talking about her missing daughter.
Because I am sick and tired of the lies.
Missing Hawkins County 6-year-old Summer Wells' grandmother, Candus Harer, says it was hard to speak on camera as she's been reliving a familiar nightmare.
Rose has been missing for 12 years. I miss her dearly. She's the baby of the family.
Harer's youngest daughter and Summer's aunt, Rosemarie Bly, went missing from Wisconsin on August 21st of 2009.
To go through it again with my granddaughter, Summer, is very heartbreaking. And that's what a lot of people don't understand, is what a parent goes through, what a grandmother goes through. It's the not knowing is what tears us up. It's the not knowing.
There's actually emotion in there. There was some emotion with that, actually true emotion. And we know that because of the way what's called the grief muscle sort of happens up in here for her. That's when these muscles here, the glabella, group up, and then it pushes down from the forehead and makes an upside down horseshoe. And so that's one of the things you look for with somebody who's really grieving. You could be either, if somebody gets shot, there's a lot of pain, you'll see that. If someone's really grieving, you'll see that. Or if they're reliving an experience that's got a lot of emotion attached to it that's negative, you'll see that as well. So that was in there a little bit.
Rose has been missing for 12 years. I miss her dearly. She's the baby of the family. I had 3 girls, and she's my baby. Yeah, Candus is my baby too, but she's my youngest one. And it's heartbreaking, and then have to go through it again with my granddaughter Summer is very heartbreaking. And that's what a lot of people don't understand, is what a parent goes through, what a grandmother goes through. I know it's hard for them if they pass away from COVID or some other tragedy. It's the not knowing is what tears us up. It's the not knowing.
So I did see true emotion in that. It was true sadness.
But she says at the end, just not knowing. Does she know more than she's letting on? I mean, she's making a statement of, the worst part about all of this is not knowing.
Yeah. Well, I think that's true. I do hear that a lot as well. And that's the big fear, not knowing what's happened to your child, not knowing where they are, that kind of thing. I didn't see anything in there that was really weird or odd or out of place. I don't think she would be referencing not knowing in any other way but that, but what she's talking about there. But I see where you're coming from. But I don't think so. That's quite common for when you see a real situation like that. So maybe something did happen to her real daughter that she's not, has nothing to do with. But when it comes to the granddaughter, that's where I would say, talk to her.
And, in our talks before about other subjects, other people, you have mentioned that sometimes there's half-truths, like, in a statement like that, I don't know what happened to her after something else, or I don't know where she is now, versus, that doesn't always answer the question. I don't know overall what happened.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And there's a big difference there as well. When somebody in their family goes missing and you start talking about, what do you think happened or whatever, and they give you this blast of 100 different things, or they'll zero in on one, and it'll be one that sounds plausible, but you just get a weird feeling about it. And that's what I think is going on here, because usually they'll say, I don't know what happened. And so many different things could have happened, but she zeroed in on the one like that and said, here's what happened. And so did Candus. So that's what makes me.
Another note here, Matt, is look at that photograph on the wall. See the girl there on the wall? Okay. In the distance. Yes, right there.
Here. Yeah.
Yeah. That's Candus's sister. Okay. She vanished in Wisconsin without a trace. And her case is still open to this day. And so I thought
you reference it as well, right? Did you know that ahead of time?
No, I had known that, yes, they had another family member who had disappeared. Okay? But but when I saw the photograph, I wanted her to tell me more about that particular circumstance as well, if she knew. And you'll notice pretty quickly she didn't want to go there. So I didn't want to go there. I figured, okay, well, we'll have enough time to talk about that later on.
That's my little sister that's missing.
Oh, that's Rose.
That's Rose.
Oh, wow. Yep. Wow. And who's the guy?
That's her ex-husband.
Wow. Do you think he had anything to do with that?
I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, we don't want to go there.
Can't say.
How's your mom deal with that?
It's difficult.
Yeah, I know.
You wonder a little bit.
What is it that you would ask her if you were face to face with her?
I would ask her the same things that I would ask Candus, or that I did ask Candus before. I would get into the details of what happened to that, and then I would match those two stories and see how close they are. Candus's story and then her story. That's why I'd like to talk to her, so I could ask her some of those questions. And then I remember and we also have on video all of Candus's reactions. I've seen those a lot to the questions I asked her there. And I would ask her if she is under the impression anything had happened to that child outside of just like a normal kidnapping, because that's an odd situation. I would bring that up as well and say, in a situation like this, you're out in the middle of nowhere, man. You're out in the middle of nowhere. I know there's workmen and things like that, but what's happened here that you are assuming doesn't happen very often out in those situations like that.
Scott Rouse, thank you so much for your time and your insight into all of this. I know that we both hope that there's a resolution soon and that Summer is found. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.
If you have any information in this case, please call the number on your screen, 1-800-TBI-FIND. You can remain anonymous. You can also call Crime Stoppers. Somebody out there knows something. If you would like to learn more about the case, please head to the video section of this YouTube channel. There you can find another discussion with Scott Rouse about his interview with parents Candus Bly and her husband Don Wells about the Dr. Phil Show interview. That's fascinating. And you can also see my discussion with Chris McDonough, who is an investigator, detective, who visited Summer Wells' home, the crime scene, and he did a walkthrough. You don't want to miss that. And while you're there, please hit the like and subscribe. I'll keep you updated on this case and others. In the meantime, take care of yourself, and I'll see you next time.